Good morning, students. This is your teacher Meenakshi Sambil. How are you all doing? I hope you are making the most of your online class. Now, today I'm going to take up a lesson from your textbook Beehive from Unit 3. The title of the lesson is The Little Girl, and it is written by Catherine Mansfield. Now, I would like to talk about the author. Kathleen Mansfield Murray was born on 4th October 1888. She was a prominent New Zealand modernist short story writer and poet who was born and brought up in colonial New Zealand and wrote under the pen name of Catherine Mansfield. At the age of 19, she left New Zealand and settled in England. Mansfield was diagnosed with tuberculosis in 1917. The disease claimed her life at the age of 34 and she passed away on 9th January 1923. She is credited with writing the books The Doll's House, The Garden Party, Miss Brill, At the Bay, and many others. Now, I would be talking about the characters in the story. There are two main characters in the story. One is Kezia. Now she is the daughter who is very scared of her father at the beginning. Kezia's perception changes at the end due to the care taken by her father in her mother's absence. The second main character is Kezia's father. He is hardworking and a strict disciplinarian whose tender side is revealed at the end of the story. Besides Kezia and Kezia's father, there are two more characters. One is Kezia's mother and the other one is a grandmother in the story. Now let me introduce to all of you to the story, The Little Girl. The title of the story refers to the main character that we will come across, the little girl named Kezia. The theme of the story is the relationship between children and their parents. And the writer, Catherine Mansfield, wants to tell us that children share a very important bond of love with their parents. Although when children are small, when they are young, they do not feel that their parents love them because their parents are strict and many actions of the parents seems unjustified. But as children grow up, they realize that all the acts done by their parents were beneficial for them. The parents were concerned for them, and beneath the strictness lies a heart full of love for the children. And this bond of love between parents and their children has been highlighted through this story. Now, this is the warm-up question before the lesson, which is given in the Unit 3, the textbook Beehive. So, I'm going to read it out and give you an explanation of this. Do you feel you know your parents better now than when you were much younger? Perhaps you now understand the reasons for some of their actions that used to upset you earlier. Now, when we are very small, very young, we do not know why our parents are being strict with us. But as we grow older, we become mature and we realize why they were being strict with us. And when we realize that thing, then we also realize that our parents love us. So even the reader can also relate to this. You all can also feel that when you were younger, the action your parents did, the strictness that they had towards you was for your betterment. And as you will grow older and older, you will realize that in the past, whatever acts your parents did were for your betterment, and in fact, they really love you. Now, this is the second statement of the warm-up exercise given in the lesson before the story. This story about a little girl whose feelings for her father change from fear to understanding will probably find an echo in every home. Now, what do we mean by will probably find an echo in every home? This means that all the children will feel the same way. So, you can also relate to the feeling of little girl Kezia. Just like Kezia is full of fear towards her father, and later on in the story she understands his behavior and feels that he was concerned and he loved her. all the children also have the same feeling towards their parents, and you can also relate to Kezia's story very well. Now, I'm going to start with the lesson with the reading of the paragraphs and the state sentences given in the lesson with its explanation. So students, you are going, here you see the statement, the text which is taken from the book as it is in black. The meanings of words and phrases is in blue, and the explanation of these sentences and paragraphs is given here in red. This will help you understand better. So please don't get confused. Just remember that the text which is in black here, you will find that these are same as given in the textbook, the story, and the word meanings of the words and the phrases are given in blue, and the explanation of the text is given in red. So here I start with the lesson with the first sentence. To the little girl, he was a figure to be feared and avoided. Now, a figure to be feared, what does it mean? It means a person to be feared. And who is the figure to be feared here? Kezia's father. So he refers to Kezia's father, and the little girl is Kezia. So the opening line of the story is indicating the fear that Kezia had for her father. And as she is fearful of her father, she tries to avoid him, and she tries to remain away from him as far as possible. Every morning before going to work, he came into her room and gave her a casual kiss, to which she responded with, "Goodbye, father." So every morning before going to work, Kezia's father would visit her in her room and give her a casual kiss. And in reply, Kezia would say, "Goodbye, father." So this action of Kezia's father shows his love for Kezia. And oh, there was a glad sense of relief when she heard the noise of the carriage growing fainter and fainter down the long road. Now, glad sense of relief means feeling relaxed. Fainter and fainter here in the paragraph means to lessen or reduce. Carriages like horse carts were means of conveyance, transportation used in olden times. So here we can make out the fear that Kezia has for her father. The writer says that when Kezia heard that her father's carriage was going away from home and he was leaving home, and the sound became fainter and fainter, that means the sound reduced, Kezia would have a sense of relaxation. She would feel relieved that her father had left. Now, why did she feel relieved? Because she feared her father. She was afraid of him, and so she was relieved when he left home. In the evening, when he came home, she stood near the staircase and heard his loud voice in the hall. In the evenings, when Kezia's father would return home, she would hear his loud voice, and this loud voice again made her afraid of him. Kezia, mother would call to her, "If you are a good girl, you can come down and take off father's boots." Kezia's mother would call out to her and ask her to remove her father's boots. In order to make her obey, she would say that if she was a good girl, then surely she would obey her command. Slowly, the girl would slip down the stairs, more slowly still across the hall, and push open the drawing room door. Now, slip down means to come down quietly and unwillingly. So again we see Kezia's fear for her father. That is why she would come down the stairs quietly and unwillingly. Unwillingly because she did not want to face her father. She feared him. By that time he had his spectacles on and looked at her over them in a way that was terrifying to the little girl. Now just imagine Kezia's father sitting in the drawing room on a sofa wearing his spectacles, and he is looking at Kezia over the spectacles. And now the way he looked at her terrified her. She was horrified because maybe it seemed to her that he was staring at her. "Well, Kezia, hurry up and pull off these boots and take them outside. Have you been a good girl today?" Kezia was reluctant in her work. She was slow in her motion, and so her father would tell her to hurry up and remove his boots and keep them out of the room. And then he would ask her if she had been a good girl that day. I don't know, father. And Kezia replied that she did not know. So why was she stammering? Because she was not confident. A person is not confident when he has any feeling of fear. You don't know? If you stutter like that, mother will have to take you to the doctor. Stutter means to stammer, to speak with pauses, to speak haltingly. So here Kezia's father is copying her. And he also stammers like she did. He says to her that if she stuttered like that, then her mother would have to take her to the doctor for a checkup. She never stuttered with other people, had quite given it up, but only with father, because then she was trying so hard to say the words properly. Given it up means stop doing it. Trying so hard here means making a lot of efforts. So here the writer tells us that Kezia never stammered while she spoke to other people. It was only when she talked to her father that she lacked confidence, and that is why she tried very hard to speak properly and she stammered. What's the matter? What are you looking so wretched about? Mother, I wish you taught this child not to appear on the brink of suicide. Here, Kezia, carry my teacup back to the table carefully. Now, wretched means unhappy or sad. On the brink of suicide means about to commit suicide. Suicide is to kill oneself. Now, Kezia's father looks at her. He feels that something is wrong with her. And he asked her why she was so unhappy. And then he tells the mother that she should teach Kezia to behave in a better way and she should not appear as if she is so unhappy that she is about to end her life. So he wants to say that Kezia seems to be so unhappy with her life that she did not want to live any longer. He hands her his teacup and asks her to place it back on the table. He was so big, his hands and his neck, especially his mouth when he yawned. Thinking about him alone was like thinking about a giant. Here, this is the feeling, this is the vision that Kezia has for her father. She feels that her father was quite big. He was just like a giant. And the writer says that Kezia felt that his hand and his neck and his mouth were all so huge, especially when he yawned. It seemed as if he was a huge monster. And whenever Kezia thought about her father, she felt she was thinking about a giant. On Sunday afternoons, grandmother sent her down to the drawing room to have a nice talk with father and mother. So every Sunday during the afternoon, Kezia's grandmother sent her downstairs to the drawing room in order to spend time with her parents. So Kezia was supposed to behave in a nice and decent way in front of her parents, and they had a formal get-together. But the little girl always found mother reading and father stretched out on the sofa, his handkerchief on his face, his feet on one of the best cushions, sleeping soundly and snoring. Snoring means the sound produced by some people when they are asleep. So here we feel that Kezia felt a bit neglected. Every Sunday afternoon when she went to her parents to meet them in the drawing room and have a nice talk with them, they were busy doing their own things. Her mother was busy reading and her father was busy sleeping and snoring. So Kezia had this image of her parents in her mind. They did not talk with her. They didn't spend time with her. On the other hand, they were busy doing their own things. She sat on a stool, gravely watched him until he woke and stretched and asked the time, then looked at her. Gravely means seriously. So, all the while Kezia's father was asleep, she would just sit on a stool and watch him carefully till the time he would wake up and stretch his body and then would ask the time and look at her. Don't stare so, Kezia. You look like a little brown owl. Now, Kezia's father would compare Kezia to a little brown owl. He would say that Kezia was staring at him just like an owl does. One day, when she was kept indoors with a cold, her grandmother told her that father's birthday was next week and suggested she should make him a pincushion for a gift out of a beautiful piece of yellow silk. Now Kezia was not well. She had a cold, so she was supposed to stay at home. Her grandmother suggested that as she was at home and her father's birthday was approaching, she could make a birthday gift for him. She asked Kezia to make a pincushion for him, and she also gave her a yellow colored fabric of silk to make the cushion. Laboriously, with a double cotton, the little girl stitched 3 sides. Laboriously means with lot of effort or difficulty. Now Kezia put in a lot of effort to make the birthday gift. She used double cotton, it refers to a thread, and she stitched 3 sides of the cushion. But what to fill it with? That was the question. Now Kezia had prepared the bag shape of the cushion. She had to stitch the 4th side, and before that she had to fill the cushion with something, and she did not know what to fill the cushion with. The grandmother was out in the garden, and she wandered into mother's bedroom to look for scraps. Wandered into means went into by chance. Scraps, small pieces of cloth or paper, etc. that are not needed. So Kezia was confused at what should she use to fill the cushion with. As her grandmother was out in the garden and she was just looking for something, she reached her mother's bedroom. She was looking for bits of paper or cloth to stuff into the cushion. On the bed table, she discovered a great many sheets of fine paper, gathered them up, tore them into tiny pieces and stuffed her case, then sewed up the 4th side. Now Kezia is a small little girl, she is very young. Now what she did, on the bed table, she found a heap of sheet of paper. So she just gathered all the sheets, then tore them and stuffed those pieces of paper into the cushion, and then she stitched the 4th side of the cushion, and she had prepared a birthday gift for her father. So many of you can relate to Kezia's act. Many children do such things unknowingly. They do not intend to create any mischief or harm anyone, but they end up doing it. Now Kezia has torn some very important papers. That night there was a hue and cry in the house. Father's great speech for the Port Authority had been lost. Hue and cry means angry protest. Now there was a lot of shouting in the house because Kezia's father had prepared a speech for the Port Authority for a particular meeting and he was unable to find it. Now we all know where the speech has gone. It has been torn into tiny pieces and Kezia has stuffed it into the cushion. Rooms were searched. Servants questioned. Finally, mother came into Kezia's room. Now, the family searched everywhere. They asked the servants, but no one knew where the sheets of paper had gone. And finally, the mother reached Kezia's room. Kezia, I suppose you didn't see some papers on a table in our room? So Kezia's mother asked her that did she see some papers lying on a table in her mother's room? Oh yes, she said, I tore them up for my surprise. Now here we get to see that Kezia is an innocent girl. She did not intend to harm anyone. She was just preparing her birthday gift. And so very truly she tells her mother that she found some pieces of paper and as she needed them to stuff into the cushion, so she tore them and prepared her surprise gift. That is a birthday gift that she had prepared for her father. Unknowingly, Kezia had done a great disaster. What? Screamed mother. Come straight down to the dining room this instant. Now Kezia's mother is so furious when she comes to know that Kezia has torn the speech that her father is looking for. And so she orders Kezia to come down into the dining room at that very moment. And she was dragged down to where father was pacing to and fro, hands behind his back. Now Kezia's father is full of tension as his important document has been lost. Kezia has torn it into pieces. Now Kezia will be scolded for the mischief that she has done. Well, he said sharply. Mother explained. He stopped and stared at the child. Did you do that? No, she whispered. Mother, go up to her room and fetch down the damned thing. See that the child's put to bed this instant.